Stacy Garrity is the 78th Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And she's a businesswoman. And when you read down her biography here on page 24, she's also a hero. You know, you look at where she has been in her lifetime. She served a remarkable 3 deployments in defense of the United States back in 1991 in Operation Desert Storm, in 2003 in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in 2008 in Operation Enduring Freedom. She was awarded the Bronze Star twice, for exceptional service, and received the Legion of Merit Award as well before retiring from the Army Reserve with the rank of Colonel. She also served in the Army Reserve, started work as a cost accountant at Global Tungsten and Powders Corporation, a global supplier of refractory powders, and worked her way up to become the first of 2 female vice presidents at the company. She is a person who is preoccupied right now in the state treasurer's position on transparency. You know, it's always interesting to hear politicians talk about transparency because normally that never happens. But she is concentrating on it and doing the work of transparency and cutting waste and fees. And it says in your program here, returning $3.8 billion in unclaimed property to its rightful owners. I wonder if that counts tax dollars. And making education affordable in the state of Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great deal of honor. We say thank you for her service to our country and now our service to our Commonwealth. To your next speaker this afternoon, Stacy Garrity, the Treasurer of the state of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So hi, I'm Stacy Garrity. It's great to be here with all of you. And I want to say a few words about the woke crowd that is so graciously taking the time to tell all of you how to live your lives and then trying to send our citizens a bill for their bad advice. So they've become the new face of the political left. In fact, they become both faces of a two-faced system. They want an end to fossil fuels, but they drive their gas-driven cars to rallies lit by fossil fuel-powered plants. They want us to mask up and fight COVID, but they want to shut down the very industry that makes the plastic for the appliances that help heal the sick. Environmentalists accuse gas and oil companies of getting subsidies because they aren't taxed extra, but they advocate for subsidies for the same green energy companies they often fund these groups. They've become a campaign to force banks to stop lending to energy companies, at least to the energy companies they don't like. When I warned banks not to do this, the left went into an uproar. They want the state of Pennsylvania to boycott one of its most productive industries. That's the kind of logic you get from people who don't understand the industries they attack, nor the consequences of doing so. Well, let me make myself clear. If you want to do business with Pennsylvania, you better do business in Pennsylvania. Taxpayers are entitled to the best possible return on their investments. This isn't a social science lab. It's public funds. We've already seen the consequences of pretend math. I just came from a meeting of a retirement fund that's now under federal investigation. We have reason to think that somebody didn't like reality, so they created their own. And we've seen this kind of magical thinking for the past year. And it has been destructive, not just to the economy, but to democracy. The liberal boss in the governor's office was supposed to go to war with COVID, but instead, he went to war with people's jobs and their personal freedoms. And it wasn't long before wolf COVID policies stopped being about public health and they turned into obedience tests. Questions weren't accepted. The right to know law was suspended. Businesses were closed without explanation, and nursing homes were ordered to take infected patients. Now, this combination of virtue signaling and disregard for common sense crashed the economy and cost lives. When citizens finally had enough of this, they voted on 2 constitutional amendments to prevent this abuse from ever happening again. Now, the Wolf administration did everything they possibly could to frame the ballot question, and obviously it was a way to trick people into voting no. But we're smarter than that. Voters knew better. They saw the empty storefronts, vacant offices, missing paychecks. They voted to amend the Constitution and begin the hard work of repairing the damage the woke left has done to our economy. And the day after the vote, Wolf issued another emergency declaration. And with some mandates set to expire on Memorial Day, businesses asked, hey, isn't it possible to move it to the Friday before the weekend so that recovery could begin and more people could work? Wolf didn't even deign to answer. So this was no longer a health emergency. This was a crisis of leadership and a breach of faith with the citizens. It was government by diktat. A failed governor auditioning for king and showing himself unqualified for either job. Now it's Exhibit A, right, in the new case for Republican leadership, and respect for the traditional separation of powers. It's why this year's election to statewide courts matters so deeply. And it's why next year's election will determine whether we have a pro-jobs, pro-working family administration, or a repeat of Andrew Cuomo's wannabes that we've endured for the last 8 years. Now, it isn't that our side has a monopoly on the truth. It's just that we have the compassion and the decency to open our eyes to it. Nobody in this room is an expert on plagues, but we knew in our guts that keeping big box stores open and then shutting down our mom and pops, it just was very unfair. It was dangerous to the economy and the rights of working people. And we knew that trying to suspend the right to know law wasn't justified by anything other than a desire to not have to answer inconvenient questions. So we knew the bizarre rules, such as, requiring customers at bars to order food, usually something deep fried, wasn't about protecting health. It was about commanding obedience. And we knew the difference between an active God and somebody trying to act like God. And the people, we called them out because we're the party that puts people first, and they're the party that puts ideologies, however vague or destructive, before people. We know that government is here to serve the people. Now, the bosses on the left think it's the other way around. So in the few months they've been in power, they've made government bigger, more expensive, more reckless. And they're ready to stick the middle class with a bill and call it our fair share. And it started 4 years ago when a hyper-partisan state Supreme Court stepped outside the Constitution and redrew our state's congressional maps. And they did it because the far left and their allies, they wanted more power. And they sure couldn't get it by playing by the rules. They wanted to choose their voters. And guess what? The state Supreme Court did it for them. That's why this year matters so much. Our party governs by the popular will. We listen to families in the small towns, in the rural townships, in the cities and suburbs. The Democrats rely on slipping their people onto the courts so that they can throw aside the balance of power. And these are the forces we face today. And it's also the reason why so many blue-collar union workers are joining forces with moderates and conservatives. Now, consider Pittsburgh, right? They just lost 1,000 construction jobs when environmentalists succeeded in slow-rolling their permits for a major upgrade to the very last steelmaking plant in the Mon Valley. They've led a campaign to stop fracking, and that's a process that's been in use in Pennsylvania since 1949. And the only Democrat to speak out on behalf of the project was Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who lives across the street from the Mon Valley Works. And yes, the same John Fetterman who routinely hangs his marijuana leaf flag over the Capitol balcony, and so General Services typically confiscates it. So when a party's voice of reason is a legal weed advocate who treats his Capitol balcony like a dorm room, it's pretty clear they're in a state of intellectual decline. But that's where we are today. There's a party of progress and common sense, and there's the other side, less a political party than an ongoing tantrum, a collection of people demanding they be given what they want, all the while assuming there is more to be plundered from working families, the middle class, and our job creators. And that's why this year is so important. We need to restore the balance, and it starts with the courts. It's why I'm committed to making sure that we send our outstanding candidates to the statewide courts, where the rule on the law of the land, not the whims of the coffee house liberals. And I hope you'll join me in that fight. Thanks to all of you out there for everything you do. God bless you, God bless Pennsylvania, and God bless the United States. Thank you.